Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to warmly welcome you all to the AMA event with Kiwi.com's engineering leadership. AMA means Ask Me Anything, so feel free to ask any questions. My name is Ken, and I will be moderating the event this evening. Firstly, for anyone out there unfamiliar with Kiwi.com, the company pioneered the concept of virtual interlining. What does this mean? Essentially, Kiwi.com were responsible for connecting up non-cooperating airlines around the world. With me today is a man responsible for overseeing the overall technology of Kiwi.com and the co-founder of the company, Mr. Jozef Képesi, known to many as JK, and will be referred to as JK during this AMA event. He is the co-founder and CTO, so the Chief Technological Officer for Kiwi.com, and he leads the IT team. Joining him on the panel, we have two Stans. We have Stanislav Štefanič, the Vice President of Engineering for Kiwi.com. And we also have Stanislav Komanec, who is the VP of the platform team. Now, to avoid any confusion, Mr. Komanec will be referred to as Stano, and Mr. Štefanič will be referred to as Stanley, okay? And hopefully, between the three gentlemen, they will attempt to answer any questions you have about Kiwi.com's engineering department and the role they play in the company. Hopefully, they will share with us some of the technological successes or success stories that they have experienced throughout their journey with Kiwi.com. Before we begin, I would just like to remind listeners and viewers that they can submit their questions by logging on to slido.com. That's slido.com. And if you want to submit a question, just type in the event code, which is hashtag AMA with Kiwis. I'll repeat that again. It's hashtag AMA with Kiwis, okay? Or alternatively, you can activate or use the QR code, all right? Throughout the event, we will have a live poll with some questions. So we'd be very curious to hear your responses to that as well, okay? Gentlemen, how are you?
Very good.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Excellent, okay. Let me start by maybe asking the question, I'd like you to elaborate more on what I've said about Kiwi.com. So if someone was to ask you about Kiwi.com, what would you say? How would you explain it?
Yeah, so maybe I take this one, if it's okay, guys. So first of all, I hope everybody watching is safe and healthy. And thank you everybody for finding some time for us today. I hope it will be interesting for you and you take away some learnings. And then back to your question. So if you say Kiwi.com, what's so interesting? Why it is so different? So usually you would say, yeah, they're selling flight tickets. Wow, where is the magic? So that's the easy part. That's the simple explanation. But on the background, as this is a technological event for the technological community, Kiwi.com is basically a huge data platform gathering data from all over the planet and crunching it, putting it together, doing some science on top of it, just to bring some value to the customer based on this data. From the customer's point of view, what we do is that we connect flights, or we started with connecting flights, with connecting low-cost carriers like Ryanair, EasyJet, or Wizz Air, because that was the simple homework you do as the first step. And then we started adding more and more. We added legacy carriers like Lufthansa or Air France, and we ended up with covering majority of the content you can find in the industry. And then we were like, okay, so what's next? How can we improve our service to bring even more value to our customers? So we ended up with this concept of a virtual global supercarrier, which means we are connecting literally any way of transport just to get you from your point A, which is your starting point, to the point B, which is your destination. You can start the trip with a taxi, let's say, and you might end up in a shared Uber ride. But that's our ultimate vision, to give you the full plan. How do you get from A to B, door to door? And this is what we named the global supercarrier, because you don't care what's the transportation tool, you care about the journey and about your end goal to get to your destination. So this is it. This is what many people don't see. And under the hood, there is hundreds of terabytes of data every day we are processing just to get this value to our customers. And I think this is where the magic starts and when interesting technological talks can begin.
Okay, thank you very much, JK. The next question we have from Slido is kiwi.com a diverse environment to work in? Maybe Stanley, you could take that question.
Yes, thank you, Ken, for the question. Also from me, hi to everybody who is watching us, and thank you join us. And back to the question, I'm pretty sure that yes. Basically, our motto is that we are basically hiring problem solvers, and we don't care about anything else. So if you are a problem solver, we don't really care where are you from, what do you like, what is your religion, etc. On top of it, we have basically engineering in 9 places across the Europe, and another 20 places of BizDev and customer support team. So basically we are all over the world in approximately 30 locations. So I'm pretty sure that we are diverse company.
Okay, thank you, Stanley, for that. Let's move on to the next question. Interesting question. Has travel changed forever because of COVID-19?
So maybe let me take this one. So what we see, the way travel changed for us, in the beginning of the year, when nobody even imagined there is something, some COVID, didn't even have a name at that point. People traveling like crazy. We had planned all our vacations. Somebody wanted to spend a month in Portugal, and we plan, and then hello, I'm live. It just happened. Everything went wrong. So in February, what we saw in our data, or even in our sales, is that people actually stopped traveling. So we went basically to zero, close to zero transported passengers from tens of thousands per day. And it seems like this will be here for some time, but what's happening now, again, what we see in our data, people travel like between states that are close to each other, or where they can easily get to, or they travel within their continent. So this might be a huge shift. You're not going to go for your vacation to Thailand. You probably are going, I don't know, maybe only to Italy or Spain. So within your continent. And it also, or what is going to have impact on this are the prices of the tickets, primarily flight tickets. There are two sides. One side says, oh, they're going to be crazy cheap because the planes are going to, be grounded. Any money is better than no money for the airliners. And then there is the other side, which says the prices are going to be twice that much. But I think it depends. For the low-cost airliners, they're always flying within one continent. They're going to drop the prices. That's their business model. So probably we will see nice $9 tickets to, I don't know, Italy or Paris, wherever. and you just go there because it's cheap. You've been to Paris many times, but you go there again because $9, it's a nice Euro weekend, okay. And then when people want to go to the other continent, to US or Asia, they probably have a good reason, business, family, or they really want to go there. So they're going to pay the premium, and the airliners are going to use this for the pricing. So these tickets prices my price a lot. So this is kind of shift we expect. And yeah, but again, we plan, we expect something, and then life happens. 2020 so far was a funny year. Started with World War III nearly, and it went further. So let's hope it will get better.
Yeah, let's hope.
Maybe I can jump in. Very simple one. Travel will definitely change, but nobody know, and not even we know how. Basically, from all our prediction, we see there is plenty of options how it can change. But I think if somebody now knew it, he would be very rich in a year or two.
On the other hand, we can see basically that we, like Kiwis, I would say all of us are kind of passionate travelers, and we are very looking forward to have like possibility to travel again, because travel is fun. Travel is about discovering the countries. But what I wanted to say by that is that the travel will be there, but we will see like how it will look like, and how can we adapt and be flexible on that, and basically give people the best way how to get out A to B. This is our ultimate vision. Come what may.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. The next question. What are your tips or tricks about motivating people? Do you have some particular methods you prefer?
Okay, taking that. Well, I think this is like $1 million question, since there is no simple answer on that. From my personal perspective, I can see that the best motivation for people is to feel engaged, that they feel that they are working on the product, or they are working on solving some problem which nobody else basically ever solved. And on the other hand, it helps people. We can kind of felt that during Corona time at Kiwi, that we have like a lot of people which work here like really hard and try to get people home, try to adjust our product. And they were super motivated about that, because they feel that they are helping people out of there. So from my perspective, engagement and like solving the problem that nobody ever solved yet is a key for the motivation of the people.
I pretty much agree with Stano that basically our product is something what is really motivational for the people, that basically they see a value in it, that it's basically fixing the problems of some basically travelers. And maybe from like more managerial point of view, what is the best tool for motivation? For me, it's basically just give people the problem and let them fix it. This is what motivates me, and what I'm pretty sure that motivates my people, that once we define problem statement and let them to solve it, not create a solution, they achieve it, that we are working with engineers, it's like very smart people. So define the problem and let them to realize the solution, to come up with solution.
Yeah, maybe from my point of view, or my 2 cents, what we learned, it's very important. Don't bullshit people.
They will need it.
Yeah, basically be as transparent as possible. Full transparency might be ideal scenario. And yeah, just show the purpose, that what you do really makes sense. It's there is some goal or some light at the end of the tunnel, and your work has some impact. I think that's the most important part. And you have to have fun, of course.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Let's move on to the next question. Twitter recently announced, I think it was even last week, that it will permit all of its employees to work from home forever. Do you have any comments on this?
I can probably take this one. Basically, there is no. Maybe I would take it from like bigger perspective, because Corona for many companies was a really big change in the way they operate, and they weren't used to be full remote or something like this. But Kiwi is several years already, like 4 or 5, distributed in multiple locations. So basically, the whole Corona wasn't a big shift for us. What was like our home office policies were basically always very pro remote and pro home office. So we never basically limited. I think there was officially 2 or 3 days per week. Basically, maybe just this will be different. That from 2 days it will be like basically be home office or remote as much as you can. In general, we didn't saw like any significant change in productivity or anything like this. Maybe it was even like a positive that after we moved everybody to home office or basically to full remote operation, we saw some hiccup or basically some improved productivity engineering wise. But this is like very strong statement that it's because of remote. I think it's it's correlation, but causality is that it was more about the amount of work we need to do to basically get our passengers home these times. And maybe last note or thought about this, what was pretty good about the remote, that mainly headquarters and Brno office, which is our biggest one, also moved to remote, and they felt basically the pain of our remote offices. This was very positive, that people now much better understand their colleagues on our sites. In general, I like basically regarding Twitter, we will not change too much because we already had like remote or home office fully available for our people. Do you want to guys add something?
Yeah, I believe you are right. Basically, we had subsidiaries mostly in Europe for the engineering, and we were kind of like forced to learn how to work remotely. I think it began like 4 or 5 years ago when we started opening like another subsidiary than Brno in Czech Republic. And yeah, there are still many challenges, and we can always learn something new about how to do remote properly, how to enhance processes, how to enhance tooling. But as Stanley mentioned, this is not much change from the previous state, like before Corona state. So I believe, from my personal perspective, the remote definitely makes sense, and it's kind of the future. And I believe we are ready for that. But still, we have something what we can enhance as always.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question: what are the technologies involved in the Kiwi search, kiwi.com search?
Okay, I can take this one probably. Well, like most of our like API endpoints are basically written in Python, but the technologies behind that it's definitely not so simple. It's kind of a huge stack. But I would say the main thing there is our internal written database and like some internal written algorithm for the routing. And kudos for the entire team which are taking care of that and enhancing it, because I believe this is our like huge advantage. But more to respond some concrete technologies, we are having there like some code in C++. We are having there some database like NoSQL database Stila, which is kind of fork of Cassandra. There is some Golang and a lot of basically tools which are written like in the house and working together. Also, like we run this on some basically cloud providers, mostly GCP, plus some like bare metal providers. What we have.
Okay, thank you, Stano. Let's move on. What is the craziest technical challenge that you guys have solved and that you're very proud of? Any technical challenges right now that you're facing and in the process of resolving? So maybe that's a two-part question. So let's start with some of, you know, the technical challenges you faced in the past and you're proud of.
Yeah, there were many of them. Every day, some just showed up. But maybe from the biggest ones, so there was a time 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5, and we were running one of the largest Elasticsearch, it's a database technology clusters in the region. When the technical support saw it, they were like, you guys are crazy, don't use our technology like this. And we managed to maintain it, and we ended up with the decision. It was a not good architectural choice for our use case. After a few months of crashes and huge maintenance, we ended up by writing our own database, basically, which is there until today. I would say that was a huge technological challenge, this database. I think it's indexing, correct me guys if I'm wrong, like 100 terabytes of data every day, and it's searching on top of that. Elasticsearch was not a good tool for this. Please note it, everybody. So we ended up with our own database. This was a huge challenge, but the team managed it very well, and they optimized literally everything. So it's not running on hundreds of servers, it's running on tens of servers probably. It could be much more heavy. And then I would say there is Nomad, which is the technology. A bunch of other partners in the industry approaches us. They would like to use Nomad. What Nomad is, it's basically an API that solves the traveling salesman problem for you. So you give it a list of cities, and it gives you the best route in which you should visit those cities, which days, how long should you spend there. There's a bunch of parameters. So we have an API for this. Of course, it has some limits, but I think what the team did is so far the fastest solution we saw. And not so many customers are using it on the front end, but a lot of other travel companies are implementing the API. So that's the basically biggest value there. Of course, a lot of customers is playing with it on the website and so on and so on, but even more partners in the industry is just using it for their own customers. So that's a very nice feature. And at the same time, it's very hard from a technology perspective. And now let's maybe move to the other part of the question. What we are solving right now is how to scale down the cloud usage to minimum, maybe, because there is no traffic. That's operations. That's another real problem. What we are trying to solve now actually is how to move from our search engine. It's very, very core. It's based on some caching mechanisms. Everything is somehow cached. It's in memory. It's stored. Where we want to get is that we are able to compute all the routes in real time, which is a very heavy problem. So this is what we are fighting now. It might take us some time. I'm sure the team will get there, but this is ahead of us. Just take terabytes of data, and in real time, so you are able to respond in, I don't know, 50 milliseconds, do all the possible routes and pick the best one for the specific type of customer. So it's not only about brute force and give everything to the customers. You have to say, oh, I see this customer from Germany. It's a young male. So he has some specific preferences for travel. So you have to adjust your search based also on this. This is going to be the biggest problem for the next year, 2, hope not 3.
Basically,
yeah.
like, sorry, go on.
Okay, as Isha mentioned, that this is probably like huge routing problem. If you can imagine that we want to connect like whatever place A on the earth to whatever place B on the earth, so there is like a huge amount of the connection. And then if you can think about like a lot of options, a lot of filters, basically a lot of dates in advance, like basically when do you want to travel, it's really hard problem, and a really good heuristic is needed there to have basically optimal solution and not pay like millions on the servers and on the storage as well. So I think this would be super challenging to solve that in the way that it would be useful for the customers.
And there is one very important thing to mention, because in general this might be an easy problem. There is one important thing: the data is dynamic, so it might be changing every few minutes, every hour, and this is smashing our infrastructure. So it's not compute something on top of static data. The data is changing under your hands while you're doing the computation. So good luck. Good luck, Tim.
Yeah. Maybe one more thing to mention there. It's technical problem as well, and it's about data. We are like huge company. We have like a lot of like hundreds of microservices, and all of them is producing some data. Have the data governance set up properly and know like what those data are about and what that data means. It's becoming kind of crucial for us, and this is always, I would say, like the second most challenging problem we need to solve with the company.
Basically, as we were growing super fast, not all architectural solution with all these, like, I think Stan, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have over 500 microservices. Not all of them well designed in like with really deep thinking. So we were growing and scaling really fast, and now these technical depths somehow pop up. And as Tano mentioned, like basically some architectural changes of all these communications between all these services and moving single responsibility to the services. And with this, is what is very coupled the quality and governance of data. This is another like big and challenging problem for us these days.
Correct. Okay, thanks, gents. Let's move on to the next question. Hi. When did you start your kiwi.com journey, and how many positions did you change throughout the way, and how did you end up being engineering heads or leads? And it's specifically for Stanley and Stano.
Okay, so I can start. I'm smiling because Jake is always making fun of me that I'm not software engineer because I was studying math, biology, and like theoretical computer science, and not like real applied informatics. So basically, when I joined Kiwi, before I joined Kiwi, I was trying to like cure beta thalassemia disease or the sickle cell disease, and maybe I will like have some like introduction to this. And I cannot like, starting to being sick of being in the academic environment. So one day at 4 a.m. I prepare my CV and email to SkyPicker. And previously in the academic environment, everything was like settled. Everything was super deterministic, etc. One guy replied me for 405 if I came to do office for interview at 8. I knew that this is something what I want to do. Yeah, it was JK. And then he tossed the coin and I joined SkyPicker.
SkyPicker is former kiwi.com.
Yeah, SkyPicker is former kiwi.com. And when I joined it as basically we didn't have like very proper roles that time, but as a software engineer and data analyst. And then it was 2015 in May. So basically I'm 5 years in the company right now. Yeah, basically I joined it as software engineer and data analyst. Then I got the first team after year and a half or something like this, scale it up from basically 5 people to 55, and then I moved to VP of engineering position, where I am now. So basically 3 or 4 positions, I think.
And Stanley, can I ask you just to follow on from that question? Was there an element of luck and timing, or was it pure hard work, skill, and talent?
I think it's always a combination of these two.
Okay.
You need to work really hard, but as our CEO used to say, there are 2 elements. One is hard work, and second one is luck. And in many businesses, or maybe even in all businesses, you need to also have some piece of luck.
Absolutely. Stano?
Yeah. So I don't have that funny story regarding joining. It was a quite okay interview. But I joined as a backend developer, so I used to be like programmer. I used to work in Python, I knew JavaScript and like a few other languages, like very classical, I would say, web stack on that time. Then I became to be leader of like manage my booking section, section after you buy basically some flight, and you can manage your order. For the backend part, actually Stanley was working on me that time, and we started to take care about the like best practices and clean code and that stuff, because if you can imagine that it was in the middle of like fast grow of the skype.kiwi.com, so everything was kind of in fast way, and it was written kind of randomly. So we started to take care about the huge system and like introduce tests, introduced code quality checkers, static code analyzers, and so on. And after a year or something like that, we saw that it makes sense. It brings us a lot of benefits. So we thought with JK that it would be great just not keeping that inside one team, but actually spread this knowledge across the company. So we based platform team, which helps basically with these best practices to all other engineering teams at Kiwi. And then I got VP out of this position after again like scaling the team, even with the headcount, but also with the scope. So I think it was together 4 positions, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys. Next question.
Sorry, Ken. In JK story is kind of easy. CTO all the time.
Yeah, I asked for it and we agreed I can have it. So it just sticks.
I asked for it and I agreed.
Nobody else wanted it. Is that the case?
Only position since I was coding the very core services, so it didn't change much for me.
Okay, all right. Let's move on. How would you change the tech stack at the beginning of Kiwi.com, knowing what you know now?
Oh, can I take this?
Sure can.
Shoot.
Okay, first thing, maybe I wouldn't change much. Now you guys are going to hate me. Because that tech stack got us where we are now, basically. So thanks to all the mistakes and all the issues we saw, this just made us stronger and better. So yeah, but there are very few things I wouldn't maybe repeat. I wouldn't use MySQL. I would just go for Postgres by default. I do it nowadays all the time. It was 8 years ago. It was a horrible choice, I would say. For the rest, I would keep the rest as it is. Maybe we would be moving to the cloud sooner because we started on bare metal and we were somehow stuck for years to it because it was working well. It was waking you up at 3 a.m., but you got used to it. It was crashing all the time. You got used to it. And then somebody just came to the office, hey guys, there's Docker and you can install it and have it on cloud and it's amazing. And that was kind of a life changer. So
somebody's name is Stanislav Komanec.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So I would listen to that sooner. I'm sure I was like, no, let's not do that. So we would move to cloud sooner. That's it.
It works. Don't touch it.
Another changes, no, because thanks to all the issues, we are where we are now. It ended up quite good, I would say.
I pretty much agree with JK. Like I wouldn't change too much from the current setup. Maybe if we would be wiser that time, we would do some changes much faster. But I think the current stack is pretty good.
I agree. I believe basically we were all the time trying to solve the current problem and like near future, but as it's like skyrocket over a few years, so we were forced to like really change the architecture and change the plans and the goal, and therefore we try to like adjust the stack, adjust the technologies in order to solve the problem in an effective way. So yeah, if I would know that in 5 years it would be here, definitely we would have some amendments. But I think all the decision was kind of were kind of making sense that time. But if I should like basically put one thing, I would go with basically typed languages, which would help us even like be flexible, but also like be precise, and it would help us with data. It would help us with some stability and operational issues.
Okay, thanks, lads. In what ways have your soft skills improved since you started as lead or VP positions? It's an interesting question. What is it like to have responsibility for so many people?
So I'll start.
I'm not sure if first thing first, I'm not sure if it's like good question for us, because our people should tell like how the skills improved. From my perspective, what I can see that from the programmer to the VP, I had to learn a lot about like people and the management, and how to properly like lead them. It means that first it was like realization, okay, I'm not just responsible for myself, but I'm responsible for the team. So I think I don't know how to name that probably, but the thing that I care about the team much, I try to care about the team much more about myself, is the skill I try to develop over the years. And the responsibility for a lot of people, it's tough. I believe like we currently have like a few hundreds of people, right? And yeah, it's always about like making the shield and try to provide like good context for all the people, and try to think about the decision not twice but maybe actually 3 times, because it actually affects like people's life and it affects like entire company.
I pretty much agree with Stano. Basically, the first principle of yourself is that people first. Because it's definitely not about you, it's now about the team and about the people. So it's a big shift from individual contributor to being manager. And then the skills, like I think I'm pretty much calmer. Maybe also we'll disagree sometimes, but I try to be much more calmer and listen all the ideas and all the sides. And then skills which we are really working on, I think also with Stano, it's always delegation, basically the shift from basically solving the problems yourself to like grow your people and provide them context and resources to solve problems. So instead of basically being problem solver, you are much more like problem creator, but not in a way that you are creating the problem, but proper definition and give people context so that they can solve the problems and learn and grow at the same time. And responsibility, tough, huge. I'm not sure if I can comment more on this.
Yeah, I think we all learned to be more patient. And as the guys already said, you have to realize you're there for the team, not vice versa, that the team is there for you. It's not that way. And once you realize this, it's an interesting shift in your mind.
Okay. How is Kiwi's tech team organized?
Maybe I can take this one, or you want to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, basically, when I will take it from the top, what we call as engineering is basically 3 organizations: CTO, CPO, and CIO. And basically, where CTO or CPO is responsible for sort of what we are doing and for basically business success, and CTO for how we are doing and basically for delivery. And CTO organization itself counts approximately 400 people and is organized that there is CTO JK, 2 VP of engineering, me and Stano, and basically all of us has approximately 7-8 engineering managers who are basically manager of managers, and basically it's pretty clear, like 3 or pretty clear structure. And in general, our modus operandi and cooperation with other roles is that we try to work in a metrics organization where what we consider as like feature team is not just basically developers, but combination of all the people who are necessary to deliver some value for the customer. So we call it squad, and squad is basically whatever is needed to deliver. Usually there is some product owner from CPO organization, some analyst, sometimes some role similar to Scrum Master. We call it team coordinator, and then developers of multiple stacks or skills, backend, front end, etc., and some QAs. This is maybe like a very short overview. Would you like to add something, guys?
I believe you described it very well, that there are like few supporting roles like technical writers, QA as you mentioned, and the others, but yeah, in the principle it looks like that we have like 3 organizations inside the one, and we try to have like always the pair of the for the what part for the product, but like what we are going to deliver, and for the how from the technical perspective, how we are going to build it and how we are going to deliver.
Okay. Have you ever had the feeling that growth of the company or teams was too fast and should be slowed down? And also, do you know how to recognize when growth is toxic, and how are you preventing this?
Yes, I take this one. Yes. Yeah, and this happened to us. So last 3 or 4 years, what we saw that the engineering team basically doubled up every year. So we went from 0 to engineering and product. Nowadays it's 600 members. And if you wouldn't realize this last year, we would end up with more than 1,000 people in our organization this year. And the problem was the product was not changing that much, that we would need to have more than 1,000 of staff, because we just wanted to make the product better and better, but we were not launching new product verticals or anything. We were just optimizing and improving what we already had there. So I was like, okay, this might not end up well. So we slowed down a little bit, and we looked at the organization and we realized it's kind of messy. Not messy, but far from optimal. So at that point, we started doing some changes. We changed the hierarchy, what Stanley just described a while ago. Before that, it was pretty much random, people reporting somewhere. that guy is not reporting anywhere. That guy doesn't know where he is. As I said, it was pretty messy. So we established a very clear and straightforward organization. We got inspired by the Spotify model. If anybody is aware of it, it's quite famous. So we took some part from there. We bended it basically to our needs. And now we are going to establish things like proper career path and proper tribes and all the operational stuff we need. So yeah, happened to us. I think we realized it at a good time, and I'm happy we didn't continue with that growth of the team because it would be too quick, and now we would be in even a bigger mess. So now we're cleaning up. This is the year of cleaning up our mess from the previous years, and then we do our homework and we reevaluate if we need to grow further, or we're happy with the current personnel.
Okay, thanks, JK. Next question. Can you share some statistics of your unusual throughput or requests before and during COVID-19?
I can take this one. Like before COVID, during the January, let's talk about like flights API request. It means like how many times people are searching or partners are searching on our web, and it was around more than 150 millions daily in January to something around like 30 millions daily in April or in May. Like these are like average numbers what we have, but we can that question might be like maybe specified a bit, but this is like main drop we can see because of COVID.
Okay, thanks, Stan. The next question, what is the most necessary skills, or what are necessary skills, attitude, and experience one has to have to get hired to kiwi.com engineering?
I will leave this up to you guys because I see you don't want me to say that.
You can say that. I will start. For me, it's basically problem-solving approach and basically ability to learn mainly. But JK will probably have a much better answer.
Stano, nothing to add.
The problem solving surely makes sense. Maybe I will turn that a little bit. I believe that we are basically not looking for people which are in love in particular technology, particular programming language, or particular product or program they want to use. We are mostly looking for the people which are kind of flexible and are able to solve the problem in efficient way. So this is about the problem solving attitude and always about like being basically good communicator. Because if you are genius and if you could solve like anything in a few seconds, and if you are able to program 2,000 lines per hour, that's great. But on the other hand, if nobody else would know, and if you are not able like to teach the team, or the team is not able to cooperate with you, it's getting pretty difficult, because we need to think more about like the teams as a unit, not just individual contributor, as a unit.
Basically, we value when people are using correct tools or correct approach to particular problem. So they are not fell in love in some particular technology, but they are using the best possible tool or approach to problem they are solving.
Yeah. From my side, people willing to learn and not a-holes. Yeah.
All right. Jan, thanks for your question. What technology that doesn't exist yet would you like to have to make your work easier?
With teleportation.
But it will ruin our business model.
No, we will be selling them.
Okay.
We have to invent this thing.
Okay, in that case, yes.
Can I?
Yes.
I see multiple AI initiatives every time there is some fancy AI. Most of the time it tells you if it's a cat or it's a dog. Yeah, that's nice, but okay, a kid can do it. I would like to see AI usage in a way where it can basically code for you or solve the problems for you. Because what developers often do, they are solving problems somebody else already solved before them. They are just reproducing the solution. So I would love to see this. There are some tools, but they're just getting closer and closer, but it will take some time. So for me, it's this, and teleportation, of course.
Gentlemen, anyone else want to take that question?
Well, I believe the AI thing. I would kind of agree with that. What Jozef said. What technology would be good for us? Definitely some technology which would help us with the routing, as we had that as a biggest challenge, because probably we don't have any algorithm which would solve it for us for free. Let's say we need to optimize it in that way, and this is really huge field where like humankind could get like a little bit evolved and think about basically new approaches how to solve routing problem, basically travel problems. So this is like kind of my dream.
Quantum computer. I probably have nothing to add. I kind of work with what we have. Don't dream. There is no silver bullet. So if we would have this technology, what we are like now dreaming of, something else would be missing. So.
Okay. And following on a little bit from that, what is the main algorithm that you guys are using to build route? KSP, K shortest path, or another algorithm? If KSP, what version of KSP algorithm are you using?
Okay. Can I take it, guys? I think, yeah. So if there would be one main algorithm which does all the magic, it would be amazing. Actually, it's a set of services and set of multiple algorithms. It's a more complex system. There is no one tool that does all the job. It's really a bunch of services, and each of the services might be using a different way to compute the route, just because some specifics for the customer or for the specific request. So we do some magic even on this level. As for the KSP, I would say we can't even use this because, yeah, it's more for static graphs. Our graph is not very static.
Or it's not, but you need like huge computational power.
Yeah, KSP wouldn't do the job here, so we are not.
Basically, if I can add, it's not just about the algorithm, it's about, as you described, whole, basically the system. So there is definitely some version of travel salesman problem, like some algorithm as a base. Then there is some heuristics, and it ending with basically writing your custom database and optimizing the like servers or machine in a way that it's more as efficient as possible. So it's not just like one silver bullet as JK described.
Yeah, but if anybody in the audience would be interested to discuss this with the team, I'm okay to hook them up. I'm working on this. Just message me on jk@kiwi.com, and I can connect you with the team. It might be quite an interesting discussion.
All right, thanks for that. Yeah, all of you mentioned the kiwi.com was your first job. Do you miss having experiences that you could have learned in previous companies, and I suppose taking them into kiwi.com with you? And if so, how have you kind of dealt or tackled this?
I can start probably. Frankly speaking, definitely like experience something what you will not read in the books, and how we compensate it actually by reading a lot of books, articles, and speaking to all like more skilled people and trying to understand it, listen to them, and learn from them as much as possible. Also, where we are missing some experience, we are compensating if that our approach that we are spending much more energy and on the problems, and yeah, basically this is how we are tackling it. So of course that there are always situations you never had a chance to experience, to like live yourself. So sometimes it's missing because it's your first time, but yeah, then I'm not sure, like with in whole like technology industry, of course it's like valuable to have experience, but taking into account how fast everything is changing, there will be, even for experienced people, always situation they will be tackled for the first time.
Okay, from my perspective, I can kind of agree with Stanley. I don't know if I mentioned it was our first job or somebody, because from my for speaking for myself, it's my fourth job actually. But doesn't matter that much. It was super different magnitude in previous companies, like comparing to previous companies. But as Stanley said, like currently the business is changing like every day, and as Corona hit, there might be probably like different environment afterwards. So all people need to stay up to date, and this is about like really experiencing it. It's not able to fake it using reading books, reading articles, and so on. But we need to live that. And how can we tackle that? I believe we are speaking with a lot of like let's say mentors, with guys on similar position in different companies, and speaking and discussing the problems what currently they're trying to solve, and it's basically continuous learning for us.
Yeah, same for me. Just talk to older people. They are usually much smarter than you. Listen to them.
Okay, thank you, guys. Do you use a graph or graph DB to model flight data and use it to compute virtual interlining?
I will take this if okay, because I tried. So yes and no. We've been trying. It might be a good approach, but I personally failed with it heavily. Because it was years ago, those graph databases were not mature enough, I would say. In 2015, 16, Neo4j was just starting basically. And we ended up with a better solution. So nowadays, I don't want to say we abandoned the idea, but for the current use case, some other approach works much better. So yeah, but we might go back to a graph database once we realize there's something we missed.
I believe Tim was checking that like a year ago or something like that, some existing solution of graph databases, and then they end up like not migrating the solution to that database. It's because probably we have like a lot of heuristic around that, which not might be good for the graph database concept.
Yeah, for our use case specifically, it's not the best. For other use cases similar to virtual interlining, it might just do the job. I'm not saying it's a stupid idea.
Okay. How many revisions of your current technical approach have you had so far? Like how you store data, algorithms, parameter tuning, etc. Do you consider your platform to be fairly stable and matured?
Do you want to take it, or should we?
Okay, I can. The revision on the technical approach. I believe currently, I'm not sure if I understand the question, but correct me, guys, if I'm wrong, or like author, if you can add something there, would be great. Regarding the technical approach, currently we are running on like microservices oriented architecture. We are trying to have like stateless. Most of the services are stateless. We have stored data in the databases, and this concept is working quite nice for us. I'm not saying it's perfect. We have like always something what we can change, what we can enhance. So we are starting to have the problems with like a lot of microservices and lower visibility actually, but what's the problem and what's the consequences if one service in the huge graph of the services basically goes down. But yeah, these problems we are slowly tackling one by one, and I would say we are fairly stable, but we can always enhance and we're trying to like be on the edge technologies. Therefore, we have like, I would say, great partnerships either with Google and Google Cloud. When we are try to do like some tests for them, like alpha tests, we try to be early adopters of their feature. But it's not about the Google, it's also about, I don't know, like Stila and other players in the market. So I would say it's fairly stable from my perspective, but we can always be better, and we will.
Yep. If I can add, like how many revisions, thousands and thousands every day, well, not every day, but in general, thousands and several every day. Regarding the big one, there was several like these, basically migration from one service or one cloud provider to another. There was, of course, some prototype of introducing GraphQL, React Native, etc. So several bigger one. I think we never like changed the like vision or technical solution completely. So we were more like trying something and then evaluating if we will like proceed or not. And if I can just add something smart at the end, what we learned, definitely there is no silver bullet. There is like still open questions like microservices are monolithic, etc. Because this company is perfect, big, and have this approach and another different. I think what is like, choose what is the best for you and mainly like stick to it and don't try to do some mix of like both or several approaches. Basically, stick to one and choose basically what give you like biggest advantages and accept these like both sides and disadvantages. The really bad thing you can do is mixing several approaches, because you would like to take the best from all of these, but usually it ends up that you are taking with the good stuff, you are taking also these disadvantages and the bad stuff.
Okay. There's a lot of questions coming in. Next question, what engineering resources do you use to stay on top of the latest news, technology, and developments in your field?
Okay, I can take that. Okay, short answer is Hacker News, and Jozef would like that. But I think there are, I would say, like two main approaches. First thing is that we have like company Slack, and all of the guys, all of the developers are trying to share relevant links they found on the internet, like internally to the company. So this is like huge, basically huge source of data for all of the people which are interested to learning something new. And we are kind of like sure that we will still stay on the top for the latest news, since like I'd say 400 people are checking Twitter and a lot of channels, a lot of viruses and so on. And the second part is that, as I mentioned in previous question, we have like pretty nice cooperation with top technology players on the market. Mostly I would mention Google, which we have like really periodically meetings with them. We are discussing new products. We are trying to do some like proof of concepts with them. And this is always like, it's like bi-directional, because they show us what kind of technology they are going to like develop, and on the other hand, we can tell them that how we are going to use it and what's upsides and downsides. So therefore they can adjust the product a bit, and we can ensure ourselves that we will be on the top of the technology as well for that product.
Yeah,
Right.
and one more thing, if you Google basically maybe any technology and append the keyword weekly, you might find a regular newsletter for anything, being Postgres, Python, C++, whatever. So very specific for your area. You just sign up and you get all the important updates. That works well for me. And Hacker News. You need to read Hacker News.
How has COVID-19 affected Kiwi operations, and how will it change Kiwi's strategy going forward?
So maybe I take this.
Mm-hmm.
So the operations, basically, when COVID hit us a few months ago, it was really smashed. In April, or at the end of March, I think we saw the bookings coming in, passengers trying to book with us, airliners canceling the book tickets like immediately. And we were like watching the trends and, okay, so these are the last people going somewhere actually on this planet. These are the last bookings coming in. In April, we went to nearly zero. There was nobody flying over, maybe some people within the US. So that had a huge impact on the operations. The customer support centers, they were smashed with requests because people were like, oh, well, what's in my booking? What should I do? And the agents in some parts of the world just couldn't get to the office to support the customers because the country got locked down. They were at home. We couldn't deliver equipment to them. I think police was chasing our colleagues somewhere and getting the equipment. So our headcount got lowered and the requests went up, and there was just huge queues for any request you wanted to do with us. So that had a huge impact, and we realized we have to automate much more of what we do. So the team started to look at what we do, what can we do better, how to optimize, and I think this will stay with us for some time. So yeah, we have to get to the point where the customer, when he calls in, we are able to immediately serve his requests and just provide the best customer experience. And there is a lot of plumbing we have to code to do this as efficient as possible, because you don't want to wait on the phone, like listen to some nice music. It's not a great experience. You want to send a request, see notifications, okay, thank you, acknowledged, and get a response in a few minutes. Hey, we managed to do it. Have a safe flight. So there might be a huge change. So COVID actually helped us to realize that our operations are far from perfect, and now we are working on it, how to improve them and how to, basically just provide much more better customer experience by being faster and more responsive.
Yep, basically we can add to like this topic and the strategy. Of course, COVID changed a lot. Like in January, February, we had like completely different plans, and we were like focusing on growth, introducing loyalty scheme and features like this. During the Corona, we need to rethink it and basically almost completely change our roadmap in a way that we are now in short term and mid term focusing on features with the lowest risk and the features which are agnostic of how travel change, because we know that travel will go back. Travel will survive this crisis, and I'm pretty sure that people will travel even more in the future. COVID will stay here, and we will need to learn how to live with it. But for now, we don't know how it will exactly look like. So we are doing and preferring features and projects which are agnostic on how it will look like. And it's mainly about self-service and automation. So this is how we change the strategy in midterm.
Okay. Kiwi.com became a very big company very quickly. How do you balance the startup culture with the corporate environment?
Guys,
Oh.
Okay, I can take that, I believe. We still believe that we are not that corporate. That's the first like funny message I wanna share. The thing is that we try to trust people as much as possible with their decision, and then basically try to like support it. On the other hand, we are at like amount of people when some processes are necessarily, because it's easy, you can communicate easily some message in an office of 4 or 6 people, or 20, let's say, yes. But if you are 400 people across multiple locations and across like maybe different time zones and so on, it's becoming pretty difficult. Basically, no, people are not able to like understand what exactly you wanted and how you want it. So therefore, we are introducing like slowly some, I would not call it like exactly processes, but some kind of approaches just to stay aligned, because we are a huge company currently, or like big company currently, and it's very important to still align and to ensure the fairness in between the teams and in between the subsidiaries and so on.
I'm pretty sure we are not corporate. I think we still have basically like individuals has huge power to change anything if they want. What I consider that this is basically the main thing what is defining the corporate, that you need approval of 15 managers to do something. I think any single individual can go directly and approach JK, Oliver, or anybody and basically come up with a good idea and implement it. So the power of individual are still here. Also the power of teams and how they prioritized. Basically, they work locally. And I had one more thought, but I forgot, so I will probably end it here. Yeah. I forgot what I wanted to, how I wanted to finish, so we can.
Okay,
continue.
if it comes back to you, you can refer to it. Okay. The next question, we have a lot of questions, so I'm just trying to move on a little bit. How and when do you deal with bad hires?
You avoid them. No, Stanley and Stano, maybe. It's about the trust within the teams, and basically what's happening. So people work really hard because they see there are problems, and the work itself makes sense. So if they see somebody just slacking over there, they tell him. If it doesn't work, then they tell you, and then the person has a problem. So I think the teams are quite good at figuring this out, and it's just about, if you work hard, you don't want to sit next to a person who doesn't do anything. It just, the dynamics within the team are not like that. So it's not the perfect way of dealing with them probably, but we based it on trust, and so far it worked quite well for us.
If I can add to previous question, it came back to my mind. Sorry. Someone mentioned in processes, people usually think when the process means corporate. It doesn't. It is not true. Basically, process is something what is automation at the end, and we try to introduce processes even when they make sense and for sake of efficiency, and basically make people life easier. So I don't definitely consider introducing some processes for sake of efficiency as something that's corporate-ish. And to this question, when and how, of course, like however good hiring process you have, you can always like make a mistake. We try that teams fix it as soon as possible, mainly because most of our teams like working really hard and usually like more than it's expected from them. So we're pretty sure that they don't tolerate somebody who is a bit higher, even if it's underperformer or basically for any other reason. And in general, we still prefer to fix or upskill the person than just fire and don't care. We believe that in 90% of cases, people just like there is just some misalignment and of expectations, and there is like very few really bad hires which are really not company fit, and we usually then spot it and agree that it would be bad for both sides.
We had a quite good method that we've been doing without. So not anymore, but in the past, what we used to do, we took the new person for dinner. We had a few beers, and then the team was able to figure out if it's a good fit or not. It scaled pretty okay for us, and it proved to be efficient.
Okay, thanks, lads. Can you describe your development and deployment pipeline? What are the high-level development steps to get from idea to feature in production?
So, Stano.
Okay. From idea to feature in production, I believe we can maybe split the process or the flow to two steps, like big one, like I would say like product one, and then the like developing one. Regarding the product, we have like idea portals, or maybe let me start from another point of view. We have OKRs of the company, so objective and key results, which kind of set us alignment, like what we as a company would like to do. So it's always like strategic point of view, like where does company want to be in the quarter, in the year, or so on. Therefore, we can roll down another like sub OKRs and basically sub key results we need to achieve in order to like fulfill the company vision. And on that time, we should have like already in some backlog list of projects, list of ideas we would like to develop. We try to map it into the OKRs structure. And then we try to think like what is the best time, or what is the best, let's say, return on investment, or what is the best for the customer experience, what's the best for the like employee experience, and so on. And we basically pick the projects which should be done in the quarter, and we start like basically developing that. Okay, and then basically technical teams together with products guy goes and try to get some talent which would be needed in order to deliver that feature. It might be, usually it's cross-team collaboration, and that there are like few kickoff meetings, and basically then we develop the feature. There is always like process, like how to start, how we are looking on the architecture on that, who is like responsible for it. And then at the end there is some like QA which ensure that that the product or the feature has its quality. It's super high level. There is like much more things which are going into that. It might be A/B testing. It might be some analysts which is needed in actually like validate the idea and so on and so forth.
So maybe what is the most interesting part of it from technical point of view is basically our pipeline. We give you some CI/CD approach where we use GitLab CI for running pipelines, and in pipeline we usually have except the build and tests, of course, basically as many checkers as possible, from static checkers, some linters, etc. And then it's continue also with the deployment, and basically from GitLab directly, you are usually rolling out the feature on even on like sandbox environment, or directly to production. We have options to deploy particular application. We have canary releases, fruit brew, etc., etc. Blue-green development. Basically, I think almost all of what modern or up-to-date development offer. Maybe Stan, you can elaborate more on this part, because I think this is much more interesting from technical point of view.
Yeah. As you mentioned, we try to have like really proper CI and really robust. We are proud of that. I believe that it could be always improved, but we are like fairly leading in like across a lot of companies, at least here in Czech Republic. I believe we managed to build some tooling around that, which help us to be like sure that if we are releasing something, we know what's going on, and we are pretty aware of what's going to happen. We have like also like one-click deployments. Obviously, it might be like automatically deployed via continuous delivery. And then we have like multiple types of deployment, and in case something's wrong, that there might be like rollbacks. Everything basically after that should scale based on the traffic on there and so on. Yeah, I believe we are quite sure, and it's quite easy to basically bring something in the production from the technical point of view. Like once you are in the code, you should be able to release it kind of easily and fast.
There is very little time left, so how do we do this?
That's correct. Yeah, I just was about to mention we have one or two more questions for the lads, and then we're running out of time. So maybe one or two more questions, and then we'll wrap it up. And just remind everyone that all other questions will be answered at a later date on Slido. So maybe one or two more questions, just quick questions for the boys. Yes, do you think that more people will use other means of transportation in the future, maybe trains or buses? If yes, how do you think that will impact your product?
Yes, sure. As I said, we see people traveling within their continent, and train might be much more better to travel even from Czech Republic to Slovakia than to take the plane. And how it impacts our product. So nowadays we already have this implemented in our product. So for a big part of, let's say, Europe, you can search also trains and book tickets for trains on kiwi.com. So we are ready for this. And if this happens, what we just do, it's again, we just try to find the best way and provide you with the best service. So you can just go hop on a train, hop off, I'm at my destination, I'm happy.
Okay, and actually finally the last question, guys, and it's from me. I'm just curious, do you have any future events planned for engineering, even during this period?
Yes, I can take that probably. Currently, it's pretty difficult with the coronavirus. We used to be like very active in the community in Czech Republic, but also abroad. We're like lot of technical events, and I think like good job for employee branding team. I believe currently we have planned some mobile challenge, which is like pretty like remote event. You can check that on our web. Or you can check the news on code.kiwi.com. Regarding the mobile challenge, is it basically some very interesting action that you can develop like whatever mobile application, but use our API, like our flights API mostly, and make something interesting, make something new, make something innovative, and there are like pretty nice prizes for that. So really, it's worth to check. But stay tuned, there will be a lot of more events coming out definitely.
Okay.
5 minutes left. Can we go through the rest maybe quickly?
Very quickly, the next question, is there any project you have been working on during this period to support the business that proved to be very useful? Namely customer service, refunds, chargebacks?
Yeah, as we said before, we tried, as we saw the volumes going really up like crazy, being it refunds or customer service requests of any kind, we had to automate what could be automated. So teams spent a lot of time on this, and we're going to continue with this. So the next crisis doesn't impact us. So we built a lot of tooling around this, a lot of dashboards just to watch what's happening. And this is going to stay for us for a while. So this is what we continue to do now.
Basically, and almost everything what we did in last 2 months was about get our customers home and treat them as fair as possible from our position. I completely understand like basically all the backslash what was on social media, but trust me, like our developers were night and day, and also not just developers, but all the company to mitigate the impact of our customers.
Okay, guys, we're down to the last couple of minutes, so just a couple more questions, and we have to leave it at that. You've touched on this already, but can you comment on recent negative backlash on social media regarding kiwi.com?
Yeah. So what happened when Corona came is basically we are in the middle of between the customer and the airliner. So the customer pays us, and we forward the money to the airliner. What happened is that the customers were thinking that the money is still with us. It was at the airliners, and they wanted the money from us back. So they're like, yeah, okay, we're happy to give you back your money if the flight was canceled or something went wrong. But with Corona, what happened is like 90% of the customers, let's say, like literally everybody, had the same request, and you're like, okay, so there is not enough money like within the company, or there is no way to get them. It's the airliners. So we could serve like 3% of the customers and close the doors and shut the lights down, and the rest would be unhappy, or just process everything as it was coming in. So what we do now is that as the money arrives back from the airliner, we forward it immediately to the customer. And that's what we were building basically for a few weeks, the whole tooling and the plumbing around this. And I understand the customers were very impatient. They didn't know that we are like building all the stuff here and crunching the data and asking the airliner just to send the money back. There was no way for them to know. So they were complaining that we are holding their money. And this was a huge backslash on the social media everywhere. We try to explain over and over, and we keep explaining. But now it's getting better, and we have all the tools probably nearly for everything in place. So once the other side does their homework, we are able to do our part.
Okay, thank you, JK. And the last question, I think we'll finish with this question, and it's a very, very good question. How did your journey with kiwi.com change you as a person? And I'd like to hear each of you individually respond to that one.
You can start.
Should I start? So I basically grew up with the company, and it made me probably more humble, more patient, and probably also a better person, at least a bit.
Okay. I wanted to say the same with the better person. But if I should think about something else, the biggest change for me was that I'm actually trying to solve people's problem, like people's problem with the travel, and fixing the travel is a huge thing. It's like, it might be never-ending story, but I'm pretty proud of being part of something really bigger than AMI. And actually we kind of see that in similar way that in Kiwi, that if people travel, they are better to each other because they kind of get to know different cultures and so on. So I'm kind of happy with the fact that I can enable people to travel more.
Yep. I will pretty much agree with JK. I know that it's cliche, but I really believe that I'm a better person thanks to the journey we had. I learned so much from basically delegation and through like working with people. I had this like opportunity to see that like how great people can be, and how they can basically solve anything if you somehow connect them. It definitely helped me also with my personal life when I look at problems as opportunities and from completely different point of view. That I'm much more patient, much more humble, and even it's cliche. I'm pretty sure that it changed me a lot.
Gentlemen, thank you very, very much for your time. And I just want to remind everyone that all other questions will be answered at a later date. We're just, obviously, we're conflicted for time. So I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in, and stay safe, and stay positive, and stay away from positive people. And we hope to see you guys soon. Take care.
If I can, I would like to just say a last thank you to all the people who joined us and all the questions. It was very, very good questions. And be all the good people and stay safe. Noste rouška.
Ciao, guys.
Okay,
Cheers, guys.
All the best. Ciao, ciao.